and welcome to Practically Writing with your host, Sarah Berman. And today we are going to be talking 20 questions. That's right. Okay, technically it's not 20 questions because that would be really long. I talk a lot, in case you didn't notice. I talk a lot. So I'm going to be breaking it up into segments of 5 questions. And today is segment 1. Before we get too far into this, I would just like to say I am in a spectacular mood. I got a review. Well, the title of the review is A Captivating Tale. I was just thinking I could read a few quotes from this. So remember, I didn't write this. I wrote the book that this is about. Yeah. This woman can write the heck out of a half myth, half reality, karmic strong arm story of fury, fatality, foreshadowing, and female strength and courage unlike any I have ever read before. This story has imagination, wit, truth, history, brave beyond words, fully developed cast of characters who never seem to find any reasons to cut bait or run. They are in for the long haul. I am deeply impressed with not just the writing style, but also by the sheer amount of detail from Old Norse mythology and the seamless process of weaving all the action and the mystery together to turn out a wonderfully written story of the shared pantheon of religion, stories of ancient and intriguing history, and a really great cloak and dagger epic adventure. I am so excited about that. That is the thing that makes my heart go pitter pat. Normally it just sits there like a lump because I have no heart. I only have no heart when it comes to my main character, so I torment. So that was a little good news that I thought I would share with you guys. And now let's get to those 20 questions. Question number 1. Why write fantasy? I have a personal belief about fantasy, sci-fi, spec fic in general that kind of applies. We used to have a genre that was just solely satire, and a lot of times that satire did take the form of fantasy or even sci-fi. For example, Gulliver's Travels. I'm leaving off the essays. Animal Farm is another one that is considered a satire. Slaughterhouse-Five, A Clockwork Orange, Fight Club. Fight Club is a very modern one. Utopia is another. These books tend to have a very science fiction element or a very fantasy element because it is supposed to be an exaggeration of real life. And sometimes that exaggeration comes across in, futuristic technologies or aliens or monsters or things like that. So I am deeply invested in the concept of sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal horror, anything that falls under spec fic as being modern satire in the most general of terms, because it is usually a metaphor for something that is going on now. We like to say the other is the monsters or the aliens or the fairies or whatever. That is how we do that. And I think that there is a lot of really important, I would say self-reflection, but self-reflection as an entire society that is done when we do these fantasy novels. It's important for us to be able to kind of step back and look at real life with that objectivity that comes from the fact that it's not quite as personal as naming names and pointing fingers and things like that. So I think it's a way for our society to grow is to put these societal issues into a fantasy setting to help us work through them, not just as the authors, but as the readers as well. Plus, I like fantasy. I love the idea that magic and power is available. Number two, how long have I been a writer? Ooh, I mean, it's kind of like asking how long I've been an introvert. Probably forever. I first put pen to paper with the intention of writing a story when I was about 8. That is the earliest time I remember doing that. So it may have built up to that, and it's certainly built up from there. So pretty much my entire life, I did not really try to be a an author until I was actually in my 30s. I don't want to say that I like it per se, but I do. I mean, I don't enjoy doing it every day. Like, every day is not an enjoyable thing because it can be hard. Words are hard. But overall, I am incredibly satisfied and happy with my choices. So there you go. All right, number three. A lot of writers listen to playlists or music while they write. It depends on my mood for me. Like, I I will sometimes play music, and sometimes I find it too distracting. I do have the noise canceling headphones, which either does focus the music directly into my ear holes, making it less of a problem. But then I also have times where I just literally sit here with my headphones on, listening to the white noise of my own eardrums. Yeah, it depends on my mood. It kind of depends on how well I'm focusing, what I find distracting that day. So uh, I'd say it's about 50-50 whether or not I have any background noise going on. If I really need to focus and the silence isn't working, then I do have some lyric free music that works better because it's the lyrics that are distracting, because then I want to sing along. But aside from that, it's just, it kind of depends on how I'm feeling. Generally, if I'm more high energy, I can tolerate more background noise and therefore I'll listen to music. But if I'm really kind of struggling with things, I need the silence. I need either complete silence or just like something that's so background that I don't have to pay attention to it. So, yes, I do listen to music, but not all the time. And question number four, do I ever hear from my readers? Yes. Like I said, I don't check my reviews constantly, but I do check them periodically. I do get reviews quite often. Most of them are actually quite optimistic, so yay. And occasionally, I have people who go onto my website and actually send me a direct message rather than leaving a review. And those end up being very emotional for me. I've had one of the first ones that I ever got was this guy just emailed me out of the blue, and he was like, I'm an older gentleman. I never thought that I would like anything like this, but I ended up reading your book and it was fantastic, and I just wanted to let you know. I cannot overstate how impactful those kinds of messages are because, I mean, writers spend a lot of time throwing things into the void, and a lot of times, especially, for some reason we have this idea in our society that writers are like over here and you can't bother them. Writers are essentially you think they're right here, but they're actually crying in a corner because nobody's told them they love them, which is only partially an exaggeration. The feedback that we get from our readers is very encouraging. If you don't know for a fact that a certain author does not want to be contacted with feedback or, messages or anything like that, the default should be if you have something nice to say to them, go ahead and do it because I work with a lot of authors as an editor. I work with a lot of authors. It is part of my networking and my marketing, and it's pretty much across the board that people really, really, really just want to know that they are important to somebody. Even if it's just, for that 300 pages worth of book or whatever. We do not have built in a real good feedback loop for the work that we do. We spend a lot of time writing and editing before we can ever get feedback from anybody else. There's a lot of loneliness there. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress and a lot of insecurity. And I don't know a single writer who doesn't have imposter syndrome. So, you know, if you are trying to decide if you should send an author a message saying, good job, do it. Just do it. Okay, and the last question that I'm going to do today is, do I have a writing schedule? Kind of. I have a schedule for what I get done. And I try to reserve time specifically for working on whips because I do have a lot of non-writing projects, like they're writing adjacent, like revamp the website or social media posts or, outline that class that you promised to do on writing. There's a lot of additional things that help get my name out that I work on, and they're, I mean, more or less just as important as writing more books. So I have 2 days a week that are dedicated to writing and editing new books. Whether that actually gets done is a whole nother story because, life really, really likes to interfere with that. Two kids with a school schedule, Hubs with his work schedule, um, pretty much all of the household maintenance and bills is either done by or managed by me. So, I have a lot of things that just kind of pop up and, messages and special projects and deadlines. And, there's a lot of things that interfere with that. But for the most part, I do manage to stick to it 55% of the time. Oh, that's not very good. But I do actually recommend setting a writing schedule if you're a writer because things will happen and that's okay. You need to be forgiving of yourself for not adhering to that schedule as if it's ironclad. But at the same time, it's really hard to build in writing time if it's kind of an add-on, and having designated times kind of adds that pressure to actually get it done. And the hardest thing about writing is actually finishing the book. You can edit it after that, you can publish it after that, you can do all kinds of things after that, but you got to finish that book. And that is the hardest part. Okay, keeping it short this week. That is 5 questions of the writing Q&A, or author 20 questions. And I hope that you have gotten some insight into how I work. I hope that you have some idea of how to progress. Let me know what you do. How would you answer these questions? Do you listen to music while you write? Do you have a writing schedule? What kinds of genres do you write? And if you happen to write fantasy, why do you like to write fantasy? Let me know. Comments below. In the meantime, keep The words coming. Do it. Coffee is the stuff of life. I've got a beautiful feeling, riding or going my way. Okay. I don't, what's it say? I want to be a writer. Now to actually fit some life into my life. So many questions, so little time. I need to get a life. I need to do it. Also need to exercise more. I got to move it, move it. Oh my gosh. I like my job and I won't quit it. And I love it and I get it. Oi. That's all for this one, but you can see more by clicking on the videos here. Like this video and subscribe to get even more great content. Don't forget to ring the bell so you can get notified whenever I upload a new and awesome video. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and more. Just check out the links in the description. Make sure you also check out the Rune Spells series and my 99-cent short stories. You can get all of that free by becoming a patron and supporting me on Patreon. Stay safe and keep writing!